can't say that now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Rosenthal, and I'm joined by my co-founder and partner, Bruce Libman. Welcome to the Ultimate Client Strategy Podcast. Today, Angela Kim with Credit Repair Boss is with us. Angela, it's so good to see you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Bruce, for having me. My name is Angela Kim. I am a founding member and senior credit consultant at Credit Repair Boss.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit more about what that really means, because you work with a lot of the people we work with. And so Bruce and I know what you do, and we know the value you bring to other professionals. But why don't you go ahead and share?
I believe that credit is such a detrimental part in our lives, yet it's not talked about, not educated within our education system. So I help individuals and I also help businesses with their personal and their business credit. And it could be as something as simple as individuals who are trying to just rectify certain derogatory remarks to buy their first home, or even assisting very well experienced investors with leveraging their credit and getting it to the 800 so they could get a very nice rate for their multi-million-dollar purchase. It could really vary depending on what their situation is as to what we can do to provide a solution for credit.
Amazing. So credit, I think most of us who have either bought a house, bought a car, leased a car, right? Tried to get some line of credit in some way, understand our own credit score, right? Because it impacts our purchasing power. But some of the things that it impacts, which I don't know that people often think about, like your insurance rate, right?
Yeah.
Are there other areas that it impacts that maybe folks aren't thinking of?
Yeah, there's actually a lot. So for sure, when you are insuring a vehicle, it actually happened to one of my client where she had perfect driving history, but the insurance agency kicked her out because of her credit score that they pulled. They didn't like what they were seeing, which is a soft pull. But it could even impact your eligibility for a new job opportunity because the employer cares about your credit, and it can lead to your performance at your future work. Or, it really tells a lot about an individual when they read a 7-year history-based credit report, but it could even be getting denied or accepted even for a rental property. So landlord can say no based on the credit score, or just the contents of the credit report could be disturbing if they don't like what they're seeing. So it does impact pretty much every aspect of our daily lives without us even realizing.
Yeah, it's critically important. And then, of course, that doesn't even speak to identity theft.
Absolutely, which is a huge problem in our society, whether you're younger in generation or you might be in the older generation, does not matter. They find you and they will get your information.
Is there a typical number of months or years that it takes to clean up fraud,
That's a good question. It could be done as quickly as 35 days. Typically, it takes about 35 days. Even if they started working on someone's credit profile, it takes 35 days to update for us to see the result. But it doesn't typically take years. It could be mitigated in a period of a couple months. I mean, depending on the severity of the problem, some cases could take much longer if we are talking about 7-figure damages as to like one collection account, but it can get rectified in a shorter time frame.
That's amazing. And I happen to know a little bit about it. I was the victim of identity fraud many years ago, before it was as prevalent as it is today. And I actually walked into a bank, and I say this is over 20 years ago, but I walked into a bank to open a new bank account, and they called the police. And they said I had written bad checks in 3 states. I was like, what are you talking about? And it was all cleared up in that moment, but they didn't tell me that that's why they were holding me there, right? And so somebody had stolen my social security number, somebody had opened up bank accounts and written bad checks in many states. And at that time, it took many, many months to clear it up on paper. It was cleared up at the bank, in a few minutes, but clearing it up on paper, right? So the paper trail was then all there and documented. I didn't understand there were so many things happening that I couldn't do. And I'm like, why am I having so much trouble? And it was a moment that was scary, but then really I was grateful for because I became aware. You know, there was no internet the way there is internet today, and somebody had literally just recreated me.
Thank goodness you did rectify it at the bank right
Yeah.
away. But you're right, Lisa, it's hard when it happens because people don't realize that money in the bank or writing bad checks doesn't necessarily associate to also credit identity theft, because probably what you experience is issues with checking system or saving system, which is check system problem with association with any kind of banking system. But if someone had already gotten hold of your ID and your social, they could have written bad checks, but they could have also gone ahead and gotten different lines of credit under your name, which would
They
also damage your credit.
Yes, which they did, which is why it took so long to resolve it. There were credit cards in my name in other states. There were all kinds of things that I wasn't attached to. But proving it also at that time wasn't too difficult because I had my social security card, all of the things, but it was a very frustrating experience. So had I known you then, I would have just called you and said
I know.
this.
I'm so sorry that happened, but glad it got rectified. But if that ever happens again and you get any kind of a strange alert, just give me a ring and I'll fix it for you.
Thank you. Bruce, have you ever had any credit issues? No,
No.
of course not.
It just never happened to me. I was lucky. All right. I never had a situation like that. No.
That's good.
Question for you. So you and I share a love of tea.
Too.
And you have been very generous and gifted me with some very special teas, which I now love and reorder on a pretty regular basis.
Oh, I'm glad you love them.
I do, but I would love for you to share a little bit more about you personally. And the tea is wonderful. And one of the reasons it's wonderful is that you pick it up along your travels in other countries.
Right. I love picking up new things that you may have never tried. So yeah, I enjoy doing that when I pick up little something different for myself too, when I try them out.
So what takes you around the globe? What are some of your favorite places and what are you doing in the rest of the world?
I love traveling, and I think I got it from having the experience of living abroad in Australia during my college days. And it really opened up my horizon and my perspective in life, where no matter where you are in life, people all have lives and there are cultures that are just so different from where we live in United States. Just always just fascinates me. So it always motivates me to see other parts of the world that I've never been before. So I always try to visit at least a country or two countries that I've never been before at least once a year. But it's just a diversity and new experience that always gets me going and want to see different cultures that is foreign to me and exotic.
Yeah, which is amazing. Another thing we share in common. You have traveled more extensively than I have, particularly in recent years, but I also love to travel. Culture and country and people and all those things, I think, are what makes the world beautiful and the thing that should bring us all together.
Yeah,
To be
absolutely.
able to share our culture and where we come from and the things that are special and unique about each of us.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So Angela, one of the things that Bruce and I talk about in this format, right, in this podcast is about relationships. And what are some of the things that you do? You're very good at the connection, you're very engaging, you're warm, but what are some of the things you do to maintain relationships, long term?
I always try to bring value. And I think it's really important when you have a relationship with someone that you want to be that person that the other person calls when in times of need. And I think it really resonates with what I do for my business as well. People call when times are good, but they also reach out to you when things are hard. So I always want to be that person when someone really is in hardship or difficulty. I want to be that person who's accessible for that person to call and reach out for help. And I try to do that for all my personal life with my friends, my family, and clients as well, because I think that's the relationship to keep, to be there for them when times are hard, not just when things are easy and everything is looking bright.
That's great advice and a great reason, to maintain the relationship, to make sure that when people are in need, that you're there. Bruce, you know a little bit about that, right? It's what you do.
I think the whole organization was built on relationships. It was just, I did a little bit of education before I started this. All right. And I said, I could never run businesses like that. All right. But it was a great education to see what people were doing as far as this networking thing and everything else. And I just decided that my ability was putting people together with the right people and the right energy, and really becoming educated in what people do and trying to help them, all right, navigate and be connecting to the people who could really utilize their services, all right, for their client, all right. And you've done that extremely well in this organization.
Thank
All right.
you.
And there's a likability factor involved. Not everybody's for everybody, trying to put people's energy together the right way. And I just think that for me, it was life experience that did that. And I took that life experience, and there was no grand plan. It was just as I was putting this together and maneuvering around, it was a learning experience for me. I could turn around and say, oh, sure, I had this grand plan. And no, I didn't at all until I started to realize I could really do this the right way. Right. And it doesn't work for everybody, and it can't, because people are human. And some people don't have the ability that a person like Angela Kim does, because you are a natural in engaging people. All right. And being a solution provider, because that's what you are. You're a solution provider, as you had just described. So, I just think that we all run on different roads that take us to different places. All right. And then we find our home. And I found mine, and you found yours.
So Angela, do you have, I say a top 10 list because it's an easy number, but do you have a couple of things that you might want to share with folks for them to be mindful of?
Sure. I really have a lot of passion for what I do. And I think it's because we don't educate our children from the get-go at a young age, that when you are already an adult and you go through rough times during COVID, coming out of COVID, there's really no helping hand for you to help you with fixing as little as identity theft problem or just horrible credit after times of difficulty. So a couple tips that I like to give today is check your credit. People wake up, check their social media, check how much money they have in their bank account every single day, almost like a habit, right? We're all creatures of habit. Take initiative of your credit and take a look at it more often than just going on Chase Credit Journey and looking at the free report, or Credit Karma, where it only gives 2 bureaus out of the 3. That's not enough. Take a look at your full credit report. Believe it or not, more than half of the clients that come to our office as a result of identity theft, and if they're victims, they had complete ignorance on credit and they neglected it for years. So take charge of your credit and look at it on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, as you would with any kind of investment in life, because credit as well. It's even more precious than money in the bank.
Wow. So not one credit score is not enough. 2's not enough. You need all 3.
Yes, so there are 3 credit bureaus. There's Experian, TransUnion, and also Equifax. The reason why you do need to see all 3, and I hate to share this horror story because it happens actually all the time. I had this client that came to me who told me, my credit score is 780. Don't know why this loan officer is saying my credit is 620 to buy my first home. Turns out the client was only checking on Credit Karma, which provides 2 credit bureaus, not Experian. So anytime you're trying to get any kind of government funding that's in association with Small Business Administration, like SBA, or even getting like a FHA, federally backed mortgage and stuff like that, they look at all 3. So when they look at all 3, they go off of score that's in the middle. So every bureau is very important. So this client had a $20,000 car auto repossession on Experian, which did not populate on Credit Karma. So the client did have to fix that charge off with us in order to qualify for that mortgage. So yes, every bureau is very important.
The things you don't know. right?
Yeah.
Always say you don't know what you don't know until you need it, and then you know. So Bruce, you had a question for Angela.
Well, you live in a lot of places in the world.
Yes, I
What's your
try.
favorite place?
That's a very difficult answer, but I think my favorite place that I've ever been to so far, it has to be Maldives. Maybe it's a little biased because it was our honeymoon, but there hasn't been a place like that in the world. And I actually have my vision board on the wall of my office, and I look at it because I would love to go back maybe in the next few years. But it's 24-hour travel from JFK pretty much. But Maldives has a very special place in my heart. The sunset is incredible and the most beautiful place that I've ever been to so far, at least.
Okay, that's
Wow.
good to know.
What is yours, Bruce? And I want to know what Lisa.
Italy.
Any
Italy's
state?
my favorite place outside of America. But one of the things that I found out in my years is that there's a million great places right here that we never look at, we never really get involved in, we don't travel to it. America's got a lot of great places to go to. All right. I don't think we take advantage of it. It's one of the things we don't do enough of, you know.
So I think you asked what my favorite spot is. So for about 20 years, I was a scuba diver. And for me, it was more about my favorite dive sites, right? Where the diving was spectacular. So I'm going to give you my diving answer. So I've been diving in a variety of different oceans, and some of my most favorite dive sites, which I've gone back years later and they're not the same because our oceans have changed drastically. So I don't know that they look the way they did 20 years ago or 25 years ago now, but Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt is
Wow.
one of the most beautiful places ever in the Red Sea. And believe it or not, the Cayman Islands are spectacular. I also might be a little partial because it was my dive certification trip that I went there. So it was my first open water dives were there. But yeah, diving for me was a thing. I took a week every year, threw a dart at a board, and found myself someplace underwater.
That's incredible. Do you still actively dive often?
I do not. I have a new health concern that prevents me from diving, but I snorkel. But yeah, the water's a favorite of mine. So I could understand with the Maldives being so remote, how spectacular diving is. And,
And the snorkeling was spectacular for sure. The type of exotic fish that we've never seen before. The diving is very cool. Wow.
yeah.
That's a 24-hour flight.
So there is no direct flight there. So typically people go through Dubai or different cities and go there. I went to Maldives about 7 years ago. So I think now it probably goes through a different country. When we went, there were a lot of different routes, but the popular route was through Dubai. But I know they always switch it up, but I would love to go back. It's just carving out quite a lot of time to get in first place. So yeah.
This has been a great conversation. I want to talk about more travel adventure with you at another time for sure.
Too.
So Angela, we're going to share your contact information, but is there a particular way you'd like people to contact you? How can they find you?
Via email is great, or you can call me directly. But I love helping everyone with their credit, and it starts from just reviewing your credit report. And I always tell people when there is a concern about your credit, you want to get addressed, the way it works is honestly pretty similar. When you're feeling ill, you have to go to see a medical professional. And a lot of people self-diagnose their problem with wonderful Google. And same with credit. So if you have an issue, you want to get it addressed, speak to a professional like myself to review your full credit report to be put on the right diagnosis plan to have better credit, whether you're a victim of identity theft, or if you have collections, charge-offs, late payments, judgments, or bankruptcy that need to be rectified. So feel free to email me at angela@creditrepairboss.com or give me a ring at 516-698-4303.
That's great. And if you're a professional listening to this and you have clients that are struggling with credit, I'm sure Angela would be happy to help them.
Absolutely. We work very well with a lot of people in the banking world or mortgage industry. Better credit, the client will get approved for a much better rate. Payment is lower, and everything in life they do is going to be a lot easier and more affordable. So,
It's what they call the win-win for everybody.
absolutely.